Dylan Hubbard here at Hubbard's Marina, and it's time for that live stream show. Welcome to the Sunday night live stream show. It is time to talk fishing, answer questions, and give away $1,500 in free stuff. That's right, it's your chance to win $1,500 in free stuff. Learn about what's going on now, what's coming up, talk about the weather, talk about the fishing, and answer your questions live during the show. That's right, it's Sunday night, it's 7:30 p.m., and the Hubbard's Marina live stream show, Off the Hook with Captain Hubbard, is live now. Hopefully you're ready for a great show. We want to make sure we give a shout out to our friends over there at Gator Jim's Tackle, 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South in St. Pete. If you haven't stopped by to see our friends over at Gator Jim's Tackle, make sure you do so and tell them Hubbard's Marina sent you. You'll get a free gift if you got a young angler with you too. So definitely stop on by. They have a killer selection, great deals, absolutely stuffed to the gills with crazy selection and good people over there. So stop by and see our friends at Gator Jim's Tackle, 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South in St. Pete. This show is brought to you by our friends at Gator Jim's Tackle. Now, also want to make sure we give a shout out to our supporters group and all of those in our supporters group who help fuel the show, make it possible, and also help drive that supporters after show, that private supporters after show. Right after our main show, we always have another 20-30 minutes with our private supporters group. If you want to become a supporter today, you can. For only $4.99 a month, you get private access to the private group. You get one-on-one, more communication, a little bit of a behind-the-scenes sneak peek, and up front, first in line for news, updates, and more. So check it out. The Supporters Club link is dropped into the chat. It's also on our website, and super, super cool if you want to join us as a supporter. Yes, there are still no stars, unfortunately. Facebook is just crushing us and not allowing us to do the stars for some reason. So no stars available tonight, but hopefully we have some of our team on it, and hopefully they're going to make some headway on that this week because that is frustrating. So no stars, but definitely appreciate all those in the Supporters Club. Now, with that, we always start off the show by showing you the photos of what's going on now. Then we talk a little bit about the weather. Then we talk a little bit about what's coming up. Then we get into your questions. If you have a question, if you have a comment, if you have a concern, if you just want to say hello, drop it in a text to that phone number on the screen. The phone number on the screen is what you text to get your question answered live during the show. So definitely make sure you shoot us a text with your question, comment, or hello. Fishing report, even, whatever you want. We've got a packed show tonight. Got a lot to talk about. So hopefully you're ready to rock and roll. Let's get started and show you guys what we're catching inshore. Inshore-wise, we've got some flounder action popping off around those structures. I would be fishing around docks, around those potholes adjacent to flats. Definitely a good time for the flounder, and it's only going to get better and better and better and better as water temperatures cool off. They get more aggressive. We see bigger flounder moving into the passes. Nice big old bluefish. The bluefish are moving around for sure. We're seeing Jack Crevalle. We had a school of Jack Crevalles busting in the pass the other day, which is kind of early, but super exciting for sure. Also, the occasional pompano, pretty spotty, but folks out there on the Johns Pass jetty, the dedicated hardcore folks, have definitely been seeing a few of those pompano. Some nice redfish action at night around the dock lights, bridge lights. I'd be fishing around the bottom, slow-moving soft plastics. Full moon coming up, though, so that's going to be a little tougher here around the full moon, but we'll definitely get better as we get away from that full moon. Snook action, definitely going well. There's still some snook left in the pass, but they are thinning out for sure. Less and less snook showing up and hanging out. They're moving off the beach and out of the pass and retreating to the back bay and upper bay waters as days are shorter. Photo period is shortening, means the length of day is getting shorter. The amount of time the sun is in the sky is getting shorter, so that's what's causing those snook to start to retreat. Speaking of snook retreating, these tarpon have been thinning out, and the little juvenile tarpon, these fun size 20, 40, 60, 80 pounders are what we're seeing quite a few of still. Not big concentrations, but some good numbers nonetheless. Our friend Bart here with a big old trout from the Johns Pass Islands. Some good trout action around the islands right now. We're seeing some heavy trout around the bridge at night, bridge light, dock lights, all good actions. We got a full moon coming up Tuesday, I believe, and that full moon generally means a better outgoing tide bite. So if you're fishing inshore right now, that early morning outgoing tide should be a great time to focus on maybe some tarpon, maybe some snook, plenty of trout, maybe a redfish on the bottom around those dock lights and bridge lights. So good time to get out there for sure. Now we're going to work our way near shore and offshore, show you guys what we're catching a little deeper now. 12-hour night trip, crushing the mangroves. The last 12-hour night trip this past Friday did extremely well. Wayne, one of our more experienced fishermen on the 12-hour night trip, had a 47-pound stringer. That's right, a full stringer of mangrove snapper is 10 pounds, or 10 fish, excuse me. So if he had 10 mangrove snapper and it weighed 47 pounds, that's a 4.7 average pound mangrove snapper. Now, he didn't have just 10 mangroves. He had some other fish too, some vermilions, some yellowtails, that kind of thing. So it wasn't a 4.7 pound average, but it was a pretty big average size mangrove snapper. He had some serious horses on his stringer, and he wasn't the only one, right? A lot of people caught some really nice mangrove snapper. So 12-hour night trip did extremely well, and these photos are actually from the past one before that also did pretty well too. So good time to get out there on that 12-hour night trip. We're seeing some solid action offshore, the 39 hours, catching a bunch of fish, and we are still going to be catching a bunch of fish too. So pretty excited about that. Mackerel, we caught one trolling, but we're going to start seeing more and more and more. We're on the doorstep, the precipice of that fall season, and we're very excited about that. Triggerfish bite is hot. We're seeing quite a few triggerfish. Catch and release red grouper. We got amberjack season opened up and rocking. Amberjack season is open all the way till the end of October. So lots of opportunities for these big old amberjack. So definitely a great time to go catch you a big amberjack before season ends. Gag grouper unfortunately closed today. Today is the last day for our gag grouper season, but we got a few nice gags. It definitely was a little bit slower this gag grouper season than we would have liked, but we caught a few nice ones before the season ended. And while the season was open, we made hay while the sun was shining, and definitely got out there and got after them. The amberjack bite has been the hot topic lately. Also, the mangrove snapper have been stellar. We're really seeing some nice mangrove snapper, and they're biting so well, even Lance is catching a few of them here. So that's how you know they're biting well. Also, we're seeing some nice mutton snapper. The mutton snapper action has been pretty consistent. We're not catching a ton of them, but we're definitely catching 4 to 6 on these 39-hour trips, sometimes a few more. So you never know what you're going to see while you're out there. Look at that stud mutton on a 12-hour extreme trip. Some catch and release red grouper out there too. Some solid scamp. Scamp grouper are always a welcome sight. I love me a good scamp grouper. They are great eating. Speaking of great eating, yellowtail snapper too. So some good opportunities for some yellowtail snapper, and good opportunities for plenty of big fish right now. Now, gag grouper season has closed, and if I'm going to lose my mind if I hear more people start saying, oh, well, everything's closed now. Guys, just one fish, one season closed. So on the last couple 39-hour trips, we've been averaging about 6 to 12 gag grouper. So you guys have been seeing the live videos in the morning, I hope, right? With these big sprawling piles of fish, right? So if we're catching 6 to 12 gag grouper on these trips, now that gag grouper are closed, literally that whole pile is still going to be the same. minus 6 to 12 fish. So 6 to 12 less fish, still a huge mountain of fish. And on top of that, there's going to be half as many people fishing. Our last gag grouper trip had 47 people on it. This next 39-hour trip coming up this Friday, it's got 23 people on it. So super light loads, tons of room around the boat. We've got tons of big mangrove snapper. We're seeing nice yellowtail. We're seeing some mutton. We're seeing some scamp. We're seeing plenty of porgies, vermilions, almacos. We've got the pelagic action. We're seeing wahoo. We're seeing blackfin tuna. We're seeing kingfish. We're seeing the occasional cobia. There's just so much to get out there and catch, and tons of elbow room. So you really can't go wrong. This is that time of year. This is my favorite time of year, right around the first, I would say the end of April, early May, and then for me, right around the end of September, probably a little closer to the end of September. So it's almost my favorite time of year. It's getting to be my favorite time of year. Right around the end of September, the first couple weeks of October is just spectacular because it is cooler. There's less people around. All the chaos of red snapper season, we've been able to recover from that and mentally heal ourselves. And it's just less chaos, less people, and so much more room and plenty of great fish to catch. So good time of year to get out there for sure. All right, enough about that. We talked a little bit about what we're catching. Let's show you guys the weather because not only is the fishing hot, but the weather's going pretty good for us too. So we're going to pop on over to the hubbardsmarina.com website. We're going to click fishing trips. We're going to scroll down to the weather links page. We're going to start on our 5 and 10 hour weather forecast area. And as you can see, as far as the eye can see, dark blues. Get a little bit of a lighter blue here next weekend, about a week from today, but that's 7 days away, so much can change between now and then. Not too concerned about it, plus it's not very serious. So all week long, less than 5 mile an hour, less than 1 foot seas. So the weather doesn't get any better. There's tons of room, and we're catching tons of fish. And you know what's really exciting? This is that time of year where things start to change, because we're on the doorstep of that fall season. And you know what the 10-hour caught some of today? Quite a few of today, actually. Hogfish. The hogfish bite is starting to pick up a little bit. I wouldn't say the hogfish bite's picked up, but it's picking up, which is pretty cool to see, to say the least. So let's pop on over to Mike's weather page and see what's going on. We got this little tropical thing. People are going to start hearing about a tropical storm. People are going to start freaking out, but it is all the way up, way to our northeast, and it's going to be a South Carolina, North Carolina impact. Very, 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 very solidly expecting that. There's no chance it's really going to affect our area, our region. So everything you hear about tropical storms, tornadoes, potential hurricanes, it's all South Carolina, North Carolina. Really, I think it's just going to be a tropical storm from what I've heard, what I've seen, and what this model is showing us right now. So as we move into Tuesday, a little bit of scattered showers, not much. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, that's where that little bit of weather is coming from. Something sneaky going on down there. So this is, remember we looked over here, Saturday, Sunday had a little bit of wind, not much wind. That's why we switched to this map to see what's going on. And a little low pressure sneaks down into our area. So I'll back up a little bit. So this is Friday. Low pressure sneaks into the area, and what happens this time of year, those low pressure stall and they sit over the Gulf. It gets warm, it gets hot, and they can sometimes develop. And that's exactly what it's showing potential of, is like another little tropical development right over our state, doing very similar to what this last one just did. So that's pretty interesting. We'll watch that, but again, it's not having a big impact, and again, it's 7 days away, so much can change between now and then. So long story short, as far as the weather is concerned, we're on the backside of a low pressure, so pressures are moving and stabilizing. We've got a full moon coming up, so we've got a lot of moving water, big flushing tides. So things should really start looking good. Fishing should be hot this week. Weather looks spectacular this week, so it's a good time to get out there. And The hogfish bite is starting to pick up slowly, but hog fishing is definitely best around October-ish, once those cold fronts really start rolling, till about April-ish, when those cold fronts start to slow down a little bit. Cooler months is hogfish prime time, but it is starting. And we are starting. Now that gag grouper is closed, there's no reason to be fishing on a 10-hour trip as far as we can. We're going to be fishing a little closer, focused on those lanes and mangroves, and picking up some of those hogfish. So more and more live shrimp is going to be a good option, and we're going to see those hogfish start to increase, and we're going to see the mackerel show back up. We're going to be flatlining for those kingfish here soon too. Generally right around the end of September is when the mackerel really show up, and then the kingfish are right behind them as well. So that's exciting. Lots of stuff in the air as far as fall season transitions. Amberjack season's open until the end of October. Red grouper will reopen January 1st. And we're going to have plenty of trips opened up. Remember, you can book your 5 and 10-hour trips for 2025 now. Your shelling trips, your dolphin tours, all that stuff. 2025 is bookable already. But if you want to book a 39-hour trip, a 44-hour trip, a 12-hour extreme trip, those trips will open and be bookable December 1st at 11 a.m. So keep that in mind. I think that's all we had as far as announcements go. With that, we'll get into your questions. But first, before we start questions, let's do our first giveaway of the night. Remember, we've got multiple giveaways to do. We've got 4 total giveaways to do during the show. Remember how you get entered into the giveaways. You comment one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream. It helps us if you like it, and you share it too. So like, share, but make sure you comment. That's how you're entered to win. If you're watching on YouTube, it helps if you comment. It helps if you give us a thumbs up. It really helps if you subscribe, but you're not entered to win unless you comment on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream. If you're watching on TikTok, same thing. Give us a like, give us a follow, make sure you comment, but you got to comment on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream in order to be eligible to win. Then you have to watch the show live. You can't just comment and leave. You got to watch the show live, the whole show live. Because if you're picked as one of those lucky winners, you got 5 minutes or less to claim your free trip by texting us at the phone number on the screen. With that, let's see who won our first free giveaway of the night. Let's go ahead and do our 5-hour half day for 2 guests. 5-hour half day for 2 guests goes to B.A. Menendez. Congratulations. He said, Tampa Bay Inside had some nice gags today. Well, I believe, if I remember correctly, he's been out with us before on our longer range trips. Right now, this time of year, that 5-hour half day is good for you experienced anglers because you can go on a 5-hour half day and then hit that 39-hour trip with your 5-hour half day catch, and they make the best 39-hour baits for those big amberjack for sure. So if you want to get a big amberjack, hit that 5-hour trip before your 39-hour for a chance at some really big baits. Taking those gray snapper offshore for an amberjack is a great idea. All right, first question of the night. When are the mullet runs? The mullet run thing is a southeast Florida. Really, I believe it's most of East Coast, but really southeast Florida is where it's kind of like the prime time, right? So the mullet, they migrate down from like the South Carolina, North Carolina coast. They cruise down really tightly to the east coast of Florida, come into the Keys, and then come into the Gulf. But when they get into the Gulf, the beautiful part about our area and our topography is it lets them spread out. Florida Bay, the Everglades, Everglades City, they just really spread out, so they don't stay consistent. On the East Coast, they have terrible, terrible, terrible topography. A place like Jupiter, it just the total crap fishing. I'm just kidding. My friends live in Jupiter, Florida, so I always give them a hard time. But seriously, though, it's a different topography over there. You go out a few miles, and it drops off really fast, so they can catch a sailfish within sight of shore in southeast Florida, but they don't have things like hogfish. They don't have tons of grouper. We are in the grouper capital of the world in central West Florida. Johns Pass, I believe when I did the research, I think it was like 2000, I forget when it was, but a few years ago, I was doing some research for some of the issues we were having, and 78.6% of the entire Gulf of Mexico's red grouper landings came through Johns Pass. It's crazy. And back in the day, that number was even higher because all the fish houses, a lot of fish houses have closed in our area, and they're no longer in operation. And the number of commercial fishermen have severely been reduced over the last 10 to 15 years. So less people doing it, less people fishing, less landings have occurred. But it is no doubt Johns Pass is the mecca for grouper fishing, hog fishing, a lot of different species of fish. And the reason why is our topography is so great, because you can go 100 miles and still be in fishable bottom fishing area. We just have so many ledges, limestone rocks, plenty of places for these little baby grouper to grow up and be happy. So that is why we're the best. What's up, Capt Mike?
What's up with you, buddy?
Nah, I'm doing well, man. Just getting rolling here. Glad to hear from you. The Packers won. You're having a good day?
Packers won. Played a little softball this weekend. It was good.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah. All good, buddy.
Yeah, man. Well, looking forward to October 8th. We got Bartow Ford coming up, 6 to 8 p.m. We got free food. Travis, me, you, all three of us going to be there. And probably Captain Bobby Woodard, maybe even Mike Mahoney. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a good one. And I think we can give out a lot of great information. Hopefully we can answer a lot of questions for people, and then again, talking about the importance of voting yes on Amendment 2, which
Amen.
is huge. So, yeah, we have lots of stuff to go over, and between the three of us and all the other people that will probably show up, like you said, Captain Bobby Woodard, Captain Mike Mahoney. I like to call him Captain Mike Mahoney, but that'd be scary. But he, super knowledgeable, a lot of time on the water. So we're going to be blessed. We'll have a talented group there, and hopefully everybody will come out and hang out with us.
And you know what's crazy? I heard a rumor today, and I just verified it when you called because I wanted to make fun of it together. You know what's even crazier? 2 days after October 8th, on October 10th, Thursday, October 10th at 7 p.m., Mike Mahoney is going to be doing a seminar. Can you believe that?
Where?
Right? Captain Ray Markham stopped by the shop today to pick up his Yes on 2 yard signs from me. And I was loading up his truck with him. He got some Yes on 2 hats and some signs and some bumper stickers. And he was like, "Oh, are you going to Mahoney's seminar?" And I was like, "What? Are we talking about the same Mahoney?" He was like, "Yeah, man, he's gonna be doing a seminar October 10th. He's going to the Old Salts Fishing Foundation monthly meeting October 10th at the Elks on Holiday Isles on Madeira Beach. So he's going to be right in our backyard, and he didn't even tell me. He had to,
I've done one there. It's a great venue, and they have a great turnout.
They really
do. Old Salts is just a remarkable fishing club with the amount of things they do for the community and the longevity of that club. It's really, really impressive. Great leadership over there, and they just do so many good things. So, and Mahoney's done some seminars with me before and for me before. He does a really good job. So
he does.
It'll be informative. He's not afraid to give away secrets. That's for sure.
Yes, for sure. It is going to be an interesting one for sure. I'm going to try to make that. I marked my calendar, so hopefully. Because I have to heckle him because he's done that to me many a time. So I feel like I have to show up just to heckle him.
Man, show up early, drink a couple beers, and then throw beer cans at him.
That sounds even better, for sure. Also, we've got big news. Captain Mike, myself, and speaking of Old Salts, they'll be there as well. Captain Bill Miller, many more on Saturday, November 23rd. We've got that big Fishing for Hope event. And we're going to have more news on that hopefully Monday, Tuesday. We're going to have a link, and we're going to be pushing that hard on all our social media accounts. So stay tuned for Fishing for Hope information this week, but it will be Saturday, November 23rd. So mark your calendars and come out and see us over there on Rome Avenue in Tampa. for that holiday donation tent. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's big food drive. It's really sad that there's people in the Bay Area that won't have Thanksgiving Day dinner, for whatever reason. They've fallen on hard times, just don't have the money to whip it all together, which, things are tougher now than they've been in many years, financially for a lot of people. So, I always say that, this is a great time. That's a great time of year to give back.
Yeah.
Some of my greatest memories as a kid are those Thanksgiving. My mom had it at our house a lot. The family all getting together and having a big meal, and all the adults and would sit down and play cards and hang out, and football was on TV. And it's just so many great memories for me as a child, and it breaks my heart that we have so many people in the Bay Area that unfortunately just, like I said, have fallen on hard times and don't have the financial wherewithal to serve up a killer holiday meal. So Metropolitan Ministries does a fantastic job at that deal. Yeah. It's really a special place. We've been doing it for many, many years, and sounds like this year it'll be bigger and better than ever. Old Salt's Pro Marine, so many great people helping us out. It's going to be a good one. So yeah. I applaud your efforts to get this thing turned around and going in the right direction, buddy.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing me in, and I'm looking forward to it. It's always been a special event, and happy to be a part of it, and looking forward to this year for sure.
Yeah, it'll be a good one. I can't wait.
Yes, sir. So how's the Inshore bite going? I've been seeing Dan the Fishman's been sending me redfish photos. Everybody who sends me photos for our fishing report is just loading me up with redfish photos, talking about how the bite's nuts.
Yeah, it's the perfect moon. This moon we get these big tides. It pushes a lot of fish into the trees. Cut bait in the trees is the ticket on that high water. And there's literally redfish everywhere. And it seems like you'll find a school one day, the school may leave because you have these big tides. The problem with the big tides is fish can move wherever they want. But the next day, there's either another school of fish there or a new school pulled in or something. It's just crazy. We have so many redfish right now. It's just such a blessing. So enjoy it. This is one of the premier months for redfish, and it has not disappointed this year for sure. We're still catching some big trout with snooker in transition. There's still some pretty good snook action going on. Again, trying to think transitionally if you want to target them. The rivers, one of Mahoney's favorite places is the Alafai River, the 41 Bridge. This time of year, there's shad in the river. They follow those shad up the river and put their feed bag on. They know what's coming. The days are getting shorter. Yeah. The water temps are coming down a little bit. So it's a really, really, really good time to be fishing. I think tomorrow, the next day are going to be fantastic.
Big times.
That late afternoon bite's going to be really good a couple days after that. So it'll be interesting. The backside of the full is not my favorite time to fish, but if you time it right, you can still have really, really good action on the backside of that full moon.
Yes, sir. It's an exciting time for sure. Everything's moving around. So, and we got lots of events coming up. October 8th, we've got the November 23rd, Fishing for Hope. We got Mahoney's Seminar, October 10th. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, October is always a busy month. Things get right. Yeah. Happy as we get into November and December and the holidays and all that good stuff. So, how about that big Buccaneer win today?
Oh, man, good stuff. Dude, I was at the gym, so I only caught parts of it, but pretty legit. Happy to see it.
Roll into Detroit and steal a W. That's really big.
Especially because they knocked us out last year, I believe, right?
Yeah. And very few people were picking, Tampa Bay to go in there and get a W. But by golly, they did it. So should be a happy week in Tampa Bay for sure.
Amen to that. Well, we appreciate you, brother. Thanks for giving us a shout.
All good, my friend. Can't wait to see you. Talk soon.
All right, brother. Have a good one.
All right, partner.
See you, Mike. Always a pleasure to hear from our good buddy, Capt. Mike Anderson. All right, back into the questions. Let's see. Next question is about how to catch red snapper. I want one for my Florida Catch a Memory. Catch a Florida Memory. If you haven't checked out the whole Catch a Florida Memory thing, it's pretty legit. FWC does it. you get like this passport thingy, and you go in there and you catch your different fish and you take photos, and it's like a cool almost tournament you can have with yourself. Definitely highly recommend checking it out. Again, it's Catch a Florida Memory. It's saltwater angler recognition. It's all about getting people out there on the water. They have a whole kids thing too. Kids can win like scholarships and crazy stuff. So it's pretty cool. Check it out, Catch a Florida Memory. But for the person who's asking about how to catch a red snapper, just do a 39-hour trip or 44-hour trip. You're gonna catch a red snapper. No matter how hard you try not to, we eventually run into some of those red snapper for sure. But they are closed. Our red snapper season is over. It was June 1st through end of day, August 27th. So no more red snapper that we're able to keep, but you can still catch them if you go out one of those trips for sure. How do they figure out feeling times? I assume that he meant to type feeding times. So when you're looking at, can you bring up the Smart Fishing Tides website, Josh? You could probably leave this one up too. We'll talk about this one next. All right, so my favorite tide website is our good friends over at Salt Strong has smartfishingtides.com, and they actually made it possible for anybody to access it. You can get 3 days, but if you're a member, you get a bunch of days. So, we're not logged in. So this is exactly what it looks like if you're not a member. So we've got, I don't need to log in, Josh, this works. So this is showing you 3 days. If you're a member, you could see all the way through the next, like, I don't know how many days that is, but like 14. And it gives you an 8 out of 10 score, and it even tells you what time of day is going to be the best fishing time. And you can see 1 out of 10, today was an 8, tomorrow's an 8.3, tomorrow's almost an 8, Tuesday's almost an 8 as well. The reason why is we're on that front side of that full moon. Pressure's getting right. Things are moving. And the question was, how do they tell feeding time? So Salt Strong takes it a step further. Not only are they showing you the tides, but then they show you how good the day is going to be, and then hour by hour how good the fishing is going to be. And if you compare the tide graph here, that tide graph is at the top, to when they're saying the best bite is going to be, you can see exactly why. You can start to pick out trends if you look at this a lot. So this is why, right? So looking at that tide graph and then looking at those green bars, what's happening? So we've got an incoming tide right around first light. This is dark. This shaded area is darkness. White area is light. So right around sunrise, you've got basically a 9 out of 10. The first 2 hours prior to sunrise, the second 2 hours after sunrise is going to be a great bite. And the reason why is it's right in that major tide. The behind slack tide, as that tide starts to increase and really start to come in, that is a major feed. And then if you look on the other side at the tail end of that outgoing, it's a 7 out of 10. The reason it's only a 7 out of 10 is that's the heat of the day. If that was a little cooler, it wasn't the heat of the day, and let's say it wasn't September, that would probably be more like a 9 out of 10. It's only a 7 out of 10 this major time right here because of the heat of the day. But then fast forward to dusk, around sunset, it gets to be an 8 out of 10. Incoming tide right after sunset, the fish should really strap the feed bag on, as Capt Mike would say. Outgoing tide is generally a better bite for the inshore action around a full moon, but the reason we don't really have high spikes on this outgoing tide is because the major outgoing tide is during the day. So that late afternoon bite, like Capt Mike mentioned, is going to be hot. But I would say the best bite, at least according to this technology, at least for John's Pass, is going to be right around sunrise, before it and just after it. So that's how they figure out the major feed times, by looking at the tidal tables and seeing where those solunar major and minors happen based on the tidal tables. But remember, that's only inshore. It only works around those tide stations. So let's go back to that real quick. And I will show you over here. Yeah. Oh, that's not the right map, is it? Can you zoom out a little bit on that map? Oh, wait, I can do it right here. All right, so perfect. No, it's fine. So these are the tidal stations, right? So as you zoom in, you can pick different tidal stations. If you go to any tide app or tide map, there's going to have tidal stations. So you pick where you're going to fish. So if I know I'm going to fish in Johns Pass, I'm going to look at the tides and weather and forecast for Johns Pass. But these tide times wouldn't match up if I was fishing in, like, say, Egmont Key. So today, Sunday, low tide was at 5:44 p.m. So if I go back, so 5:44 p.m. was low tide. Let's say I was fishing down here off of Anna Maria. I'm going to look there and look how much difference we had. So low tide in Anna Maria, it was at 5:29. So definitely a different time frame. That was kind of a bad example. Most of the time it's more difference than that, but oh well. So you definitely have a big tidal change as you move north and south. East and west, it changes as well, but it changes a little differently. So generally, you're going to have a later tidal time as you move north, earlier tidal time as you move south, but tides changed based on geographic regions. So you can't look at like that technology right there and say, oh, today's a 9 out of 10, and then be like, oh, offshore is going to be good fishing today, because they're taking into the tide. A big way they get that number is based on the tidal flows, and that won't hold true offshore, right? So don't let that trip you up. All right, next question. Let's see here. Great talking point. We talked about this a little bit briefly on this morning's radio show when I called in. What are your thoughts on where most of the gag groupers are at? It looks like these 15 days, gags were rarely caught, whereas last year, early in the season, there were so many gags. You want to know why? I'll tell you why. What happened last year? August 29th and 30th. A little thing called Hurricane Idalia. Hurricane Idalia rolled through our area, and it went right over those gag spawning aggregation sites and deep water gag grouper areas. The 40 break, the elbow, the pothole ridge, the edges, the stickies, the humps, the middle grounds, all of those huge fishing areas got steamrolled by a Category 3 hurricane, August 29th and 30th, and all those fish moved. We had 18-foot seas out there, right? A Category 3 storm pushed a lot of water. Hurricane Idalia brought 15 foot of storm surge to our area not our area, but the Big Bend of Florida. Johns Pass, we saw probably 5 foot of flooding. Hurricane Idalia did more damage in Johns Pass than a lot of storms. Ada was probably the worst, but Idalia was second. We had probably 3 to 4 foot of water at Hubbard's Marina. We probably had 5 foot of water down at Don's Dock. It was bad. So it moved a lot of water, and it moved a lot of fish. We had some damage to the Florida fishermen behind that storm, but we scrambled, had that boat ready to rock and roll, and we fished September 1st last year, right behind Hurricane Idalia. And what happened? Our first gag grouper trip of the year, we caught like 45 keeper gags. Second trip, we caught like 50 keeper gags. Third trip, we caught like 60 keeper gag grouper. It was crazy how many gags. And then it slowed down a little bit, and we kind of stayed steady catching 20, 30 keeper gags for probably the first 2 weeks of September last year. This year, no hurricane. Kind of a good thing. Didn't have any damage to our area, no flooding, no one was injured, but didn't have the gags moving. This year, September was chosen as the gag grouper opening because generally September is not a great time to catch gags. And the reason they did that was the idea was if it opens September 1st, you can have a longer season because historic landing numbers were lower. When they first looking at gag grouper, our quota was, I'm not good with math, so we're going to use an easy number. Let's say the quota is 100,000 pounds. It was more than that. I think it was like 186,000 or something like that. But let's say it's 100,000 pounds because, again, I'm not good at math. If the quota is 100,000 pounds, if they open the season December 1st, what happens in December? We have cold fronts. The water temperatures are down. the gag grouper really bite well. Generally, Thanksgiving to New Year's Day is kind of like the prime time for gag grouper. But if they opened it December 1st when prime time for gag grouper is happening and we're all catching a bunch of gags and they're everywhere and they're biting really well and they're super aggressive, we would be able to catch those 100,000 pounds really quickly. So uncertainty would be high, landings would be high, and the ability to manage that fishery and prevent overfishing would be pretty difficult. We saw that last year. We were supposed to have 2 months and some change last year. Ended up being a little more than a month. We ended up closing October like 19th last year. So it ended up being a month and a half or so last year, and everybody was pissed. But we were all catching a bunch of gags, and that quota got overran, and now this year we only had 15 days because we had an overrun of the quota. The positive news this year, we didn't have the hurricane, we didn't catch a bunch of gags, so we shouldn't have overrun the quota, hopefully. And if that's the case, most likely next year we'll have more time. We'll probably have a month and a half next year. So gag grouper season should be longer next year. There's the bright side. I think it's time for another giveaway. Let's do a giveaway, and then we'll get into some more questions. Let's do our 10-hour all-day for 2 guests. 10-hour all-day for 2 guests. Lucky winner is Karen Massey. Congratulations from Orlando. Won a 10-hour all-day for 2 guests. Congratulations, Karen. All right, with that, let's see what else we got going on here. I'm coming down to fish the middle of November. What can I expect to catch on the 10-hour trip? 10-hour trip, October through April. We will be focused almost exclusively on those hogfish. We'll have quite a few lane snapper and a handful of mangroves coming up too, plus a plethora, a cornucopia of gray snapper as well and porgies. So lots of gray snapper and porgies, and hopefully some nice lanes, mangroves, and good numbers of hogfish. Bring some live shrimp, 30-pound test, 3 or 4-aught hook, 1 2-ounce egg sinkers. You'll be ready to rock and roll with a 4000 series spinning reel, about 17 to 20-pound class rated rod. You'll be ready to rock. Second question: if you're running out of questions, I really want to use a spinning reel. Will a 10,000 size pen spinning reel be sufficient? No. I wouldn't use that type of spinning reel. It is way too big for a 10-hour trip. I would use like a 4,000. 4,000 is on the bigger side. A lot of people fish for 3,000. Captain Frank likes a 1,500, but that's because he has really small hands. I'm just kidding. I wouldn't use a 1,500. That's a little too light. I would use a 3,000, 3,500, 4,000. 5,000 starts to be too big. A 10,000 is way, way too big. Really, the only thing you would use a 10,000 series spinning reel for is like tarpon on the beach, sight fishing tarpon, or like flatlining maybe. But those reels are really designed for casting tuna poppers at bluefin and yellowfin tuna. That's what they use like up in the northern Gulf for tuna fishing. Not really something we use in our area. Definitely don't want to use it for bottom fishing on a long range trip. You can use spinning rods for bottom fishing on a 5 or 10 hour trip, but we're using about 4,000 series. All right, next question. What else do we got? Can you explain what Amendment 2 really is? Yes, I can. Amendment 2 is the right to hunt and fish. Do you like hunting? Do you like fishing? Do you like Florida? Do you even Florida? You want the Amendment 2 to pass. The challenge is the folks behind No on 2 are spending a ton of money and they're spreading misinformation. I found out the main guy in the state of Florida who's funneling all the funds from the opposition, who's getting paid 6 figures to fight and try to make people vote no on 2. From 2012 to 2022, that man owned a company called Hydroponic Meats. Yeah. Hydroponic Meats. with the intention to grow meat in a lab and sell it to you to consume. Lab-grown meat. The reason he doesn't have that company anymore is because we passed a bill in the state of Florida. We were the first state to pass a bill to make the manufacture, distribution, and selling of manufactured lab-grown meat illegal. So thankfully that bill passed, and this man lost his company. So pretty stark example of the opposition we face. So the other thing that's really interesting is the no on two people who are misinformed and misguided. The main person who's in charge of passing out street signs for the no on two people in Tampa, you can email them at IamMeatlessRU. Literally, that's his email. He or she's email. I'm not sure if it's a male or female, but IamMeatlessRU. That is another telltale sign of the folks that we are standing up against. You know who's handing out the street signs for yes on two? That's me. I got them. Stop on by the Marina, and I'll give you a bumper sticker. I'll give you a yard sign. We're even going to be probably trying to sell some hats. I got a limited number of hats, but we're probably going to launch, hopefully this week, the opportunity for you to grab some hats as well, and we'll be able to mail them to you as well. But we'll pop over here. If you go to yesontoflorida.com, we can now share this link on Facebook, by the way, Josh. They fixed that. Facebook had this link banned because I guess back in the day, I think last election, Yes on 2 in Florida was the marijuana bill, and apparently there was some issues and Facebook had it blacklisted. So you couldn't share this link on Facebook, but we got that fixed, and I don't know how they did it, but that was the story I got. So cool website to really delve into it and go over a lot. But one thing, can you type in Amendment 2 Ballotpedia? Yeah, like Ballotpedia. Yeah, like Wikipedia, but Ballotpedia. Yeah, there it is. All right, so this is a really cool link. If you haven't tried Ballotpedia before, this is like my go-to. It's kind of like Wikipedia for politics. And it's cool because you can search state elections, you can search campaigns, amendments, and all this does is it shows you the arguments for and the arguments against, and it gives you links so you can do your research and make your own decision. I love this website for that reason. It's unbiased in the fact that it shows you the opposition and the supporting arguments. It shows you who's on the side of the support, who's on the side of the opposition. It shows you their arguments, their names, and you can make a decision based on your own opinion. So it's a beautiful website. Josh is going to put the link in the chat, but it's really interesting. This, to me, tells the story. So it shows the support, all the people in support. Remember, this was a nonpartisan thing. It passed the Florida House 154-1. So almost everybody voted for it except for one person. So it doesn't matter, red, blue, yellow, what Democratic, Republican, political party you affiliate with, it doesn't matter. This is about Florida. This is about our environment. This is about our Florida lifestyle, our right to hunt and fish. So yes, it is political, but no, it is not political because it's important. It's our lifestyle. All the different organizations that support it, all Florida Guides Association, Coastal Conservation Association, the Florida FWC, the head of FWC is supportive. Opposition. Oh man, it's some real winners, man. So very first one, can you zoom in a little bit so that people can read this? But I'm going to read it because I love it so much. Oh, sorry, I used the wheel. Go for it. Is that all we got?
I can go more.
Yeah, go more. Yeah, 150. Well, you still can't really read it too well, but I will read it for you. The very first one is my favorite. So, an argument against Amendment 2. We are in the midst of a global extinction crisis and climate crisis. Our wildlife needs a break from the carnage. We need to accelerate measures to alleviate all the harm being done and mitigate the damage, which includes taking proactive measures to eliminate unnecessary trapping and senseless killing. So they want to eliminate the killing of animals. Do you think that they support fishing? I don't think so. And then also the second argument against voting yes on 2 is even though the planet has lost 69% of its wildlife over the past 50 years, this amendment would create a fundamental right for the Florida Constitution to hunt and fish. I feel like they're telling me to vote for it. So Josh dropped the link in the chat. You guys read it. You decide for yourself. But if you read that website and you decide to vote against it, I feel like there's a problem there. Because any sane person reads that, you're going to be like, oh, I should vote yes on 2. Literally, this is not one of those amendments that has like 16 pages of legal jargon. It's 3 sentences. My best friend, Capt. Travis Thompson, one of my best friends, Capt. Travis Thompson, is the author. Like, dude wrote this. So it is 100% transparent. We'll be the 24th state to do it. There's a bunch of really crazy misinformation being spread out there. The Tampa Bay Times just did this ridiculous editorial about how this is a ridiculous amendment. You shouldn't vote for it. It's going to open up all these ways for people to sue, and all these evil things will happen. That same exact article, was in a North Carolina newspaper 2 years ago when they were trying to pass it in North Carolina. Guess what? They passed it in North Carolina. It's a state right in North Carolina, and none of those things happened. And they took the same article and virtually copied and pasted it, and Tampa Bay Times, in their infinite wisdom, went ahead and printed that same article. And guess what? Same thing's going to happen. Hopefully it's going to pass, and 2 years later, none of that's going to happen. So don't be fooled. Don't let them fool you. And we need everybody talking about it. We need everybody using the yard signs, putting the bumper stickers on their car, telling their friends. So vote yes on 2. Enough about that. I went down a little bit of a rabbit trail. Sorry. Next question. What do we got? Any sheep's head showing up yet? Yes. That is another thing. This time of year, we start to see the mangrove snapper dwindle down a little bit, but we start to see the sheep's head come back really, really strong. So sheep's head are coming back for sure. Our gray snapper, the only fish that grunt. So a gray snapper with an A is a mangrove snapper. Our common name for a white grunt is a gray snapper with an E. And no, it is not the only fish that grunts. Pigfish, which is an inshore bait fish, grunt. There's a lot of fish that make those grunting noises. Grouper can actually do it too when they get rocked up. Black drum do it. Black drum are the loudest. A lot of fish make that low grunting noise. It's to scare away predators and to also attract mates in the case of black drum. All right, what other questions do we have? Thank you for the kind words, Patrick. He said it's a great show. Thank you. What tackle should I bring on a 5-hour for gray snapper and other amberjack bait? Lighter tackle, 30-pound fluorocarbon, 30-pound mono, 3 to 4/0 hook. And I'd be fishing squid hard for those gray snappers. When do pictures of the catch get uploaded? So we try to upload photos right after a trip. If you're not seeing your photos on the website, you can always reach out to us via text. Let us know what trip you were on and what you're looking for, and we can upload them. To be honest, sometimes I forget. So if I forget, you can always get at me, message me, and remind me. Really want to do the Egmont trip from Johns Pass. Do people really find shark's teeth there at Egmont Key, not Johns Pass? Yes. We don't do an Egmont Key trip from Johns Pass, though. We do a 3-hour Shell Key shelling trip from Johns Pass, which gives you an hour at Shell Key. If you want to go to Egmont Key, you got to go down to Fort DeSoto and catch the Hubbard's Marina Egmont Key ferry from the Bay Pier at Fort DeSoto. It's about 20 minutes south of us. We also have a Shell Key ferry from Fort DeSoto's boat ramp as well. But Egmont Key, yes, you can find shark's teeth. Captain Robin, one of our captains out there, found a megalodon tooth. It was like this big out there. It was perfectly preserved. It was gorgeous. We have a crew member, Noah Noah. And he does really well out there. He catches a bunch, he finds a bunch of shark's teeth, a bunch of big ones too, megalodons. He had a whole box of great white shark's teeth that he's found recently. So yeah, you can definitely find shark's teeth at Egmont Key. You can find a few at Shell Key as well, but Egmont Key is a little easier. Less people go out there, and the west side of Egmont Key generally is going to be where you find the shark's teeth. Let's see. Do you keep info on shore fishing? Florida sent me a survey to fill out, but only asked about fishing from a boat. Let's see. Do they keep info on shore fishing? Maybe. Florida sent me a survey. I'm not really sure what he's asking about. Generally, they're asking about fishing in general. Did you get a... sounds like he got an MRIP FES survey. Not many people get those. That's how the federal government gets catch information. So fill it out honestly and send me a picture of it. Gary, you're texting me already, so take a picture of that and send it to me, please. I'd be very interested to see what it said, how it was worded, and all that good stuff. Let's see, what other questions do we have? How much Top Shot is recommended for a 12-hour night snapper trip? So generally, you're going to have about a third of your line in the water be that Top Shot, a quarter to a third. So on a 12-hour night trip, we're fishing about 100 to 120 foot. So if you're going on a quarter of your line in the water, you'd want about 20 to 30 feet of Top Shot, and that would be a pretty good setup for a 12-hour night trip. If you're super experienced, you could go closer to 20 foot. If you're not as experienced, going closer to a third, maybe 30 foot, maybe even 35, 40 foot of monofilament or fluorocarbon Top Shot would be a good idea. So longer Top Shot, if you're less experienced, maybe not as well versed on how to tie that Top Shot. If you're really good at tying Top Shots, you're a really experienced angler, you could shorten up that Top Shot. But you still need it because that's your shock absorber. You wouldn't want to drive a car without shock absorbers. You wouldn't want to fish without a Top Shot if you're fishing braid. So you don't need braid either. If you're fishing 100 foot of water, monofilament, a good fishing rod, you don't need braid. But if you have braid, you got to do a Top Shot. So let's do another giveaway. We've got our swag pack to give away. Then we'll try to get to another question or two before we do our 39-hour giveaway. And then our supporters after show. So let's see who won our swag pack. Lucky winner of the Hubbard's Marina swag pack is Vicky Armstrong Poole. Congratulations, Vicky. You got 5 minutes or less to text us your full home address to the phone number on the screen and your t-shirt size so we can send you out that swag pack. All right, for the 39-hour trip, if I get a live bait, is it a communal live well or do you have a live well assigned to you? On a 39 and 44-hour, it is a individual live well. It's your private live well. 10-hour trips, 12-hour trips, it is a communal live well. Let's see, what other questions do we have? Does that was earlier. 12-hour night is I think like $189. 12-hour extreme is $399, and a 39 hours $499. 44 hours $599. What would I need to start fly fishing? Somebody else. That is not my game. I don't know much about fly fishing, to be honest with you. I've done it a handful of times. I can almost cast a fly fishing rod, but I'm not good at it, and it is not something that I would feel comfortable even beginning to talk about. Dustin Pack is a fly fishing guide in Tampa Bay. He is on the board of the Tampa Bay Waterkeepers. He's a good, involved captain, super environmentally conscious, and he is who I would recommend if you wanted to do a fly fishing trip around Tampa Bay. And if you want to learn about fly fishing, go to him, not me. It's amberjack season here in Texas. Yes, it's amberjack season Gulf-wide until the end of October. Would an Avet MXL Raptor and EXW30? I have no idea what those words mean, unfortunately. I'm not super familiar with avets, but I know their Raptors are bigger reels. So it really comes down to what drag it is, because so many different reels are out there on the market. I'm not super familiar with that exact size, but if that has 40 pounds of drag, 45, 50 pounds of drag, you're good. For amberjack, you want at least 40, 45 pounds of drag or more. As long as you got that heavy drag, and I would be fishing at least 80-pound main line. You could even do a 100-pound main line if you needed to, but unless your reel has like 60 pounds of drag, probably 80 pounds of main line is all you need. But then you have a heavier leader, right? You want to do probably at least 100, maybe even 125-pound leader. Hook size depends on the bait. If you got those really big live baits, you need 10, 12-aught hooks, maybe even 14-aught hooks if you got really big live baits. And then also you need heavier weights. If you're fishing a really big live bait, you need a 10, 12-ounce egg sinker to make sure that live bait is going to bottom and is not going to drag your live bait or drag your weight up off the bottom and cause tangles. All right, let's see. James said, FWC was at the dock Thursday morning when we got back from the 39-hour trip. It was cool seeing them weighing and analyzing your catch. How often do they come out to do that? They do that often, but what you were seeing was not necessarily the full picture. So that is called a port observer. He specifically is assigned to the SRHS. So he is a state-funded employee through a federal grant for SRHS, which is the Southeast Region Headboat Survey. And SRHS has been around since 1986. We've been mandatorily required to report everything that is caught, everything that is caught and kept, everything that is caught and released on party boats in federal waters since 1986. So that is part of that program. So that is only a very small percentage. If the Flying Hub 2 came in, or the Hub came in, he would let those fish walk right by him because those boats aren't head boats. They're not a part of SRHS. So it is a very small percentage of the fishing population that gets measured like that. But it is cool to see. But it is not how they have, and it doesn't have anything to do with recreational fishing. And it doesn't even have much to do with federal recreational fishing, because remember, there's 1,287 permits in the Gulf of Mexico for federal fishing, federal for-hire fishing. And only a small number of those are party boats. A majority of those are charter boats. Charter boats wouldn't be involved in SRHS. All right, let's see. What other questions do we have? Can I use chum off the pass bridge? Yes, you can chum in Johns Pass. I would chum the south side of Johns Pass underneath the bridge at slack tide, throwing some chum out. It gets those big mangrove snapper coming up out of the rocks. Right at the end of an outgoing tide, when the water stops going out, slows down, I'd start chumming a little bit and throw a handful of small chunks of shrimp and maybe some sand, maybe some glitter, maybe some real small chunks of sardines. And man, you'd get some big mangrove snapper fired up for sure. What's the difference between gag and red grouper? Not sure how to answer that, other than they're just two really different fish. Very different in the way they act, the way they live, their biology, their anatomy, and their color. Gag grouper are black, red grouper are red, obviously. And they have different fishing seasons. They act differently. Red grouper are more scavengers, where gags are more structure-oriented. Gags are generally going to try to break you off in the rocks, whereas red grouper are not, generally. Let's see, what other questions do we have? Is that it? We're out of questions, right on time, too. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. Hopefully you had a great time. I know I enjoyed the show. And what else do we have to talk about? Oh, Hubbard's Marina tattoos. We've got some new tattoos that came through. Remember, if you are interested in getting a part of the Hubbard's Marina family for reals, go to hubbardsmarina.com, hit info, hit marina info, and then hit Hubbard's Marina Tattoos. Go to the tattoos page. It'll tell you all about the guidelines on how to get a tattoo and how to get $1,000 free. So check it out. Also, there's examples of tattoos that have happened and what you can do to make it a part of you. So if you want to join the Hubbard's Marina family, for real, check out the Hubbard's Marina Tattoos page on our website. We talked about Yes on 2 already. If you want a yard sign, I've got 100 of them. So stop on by the shop, but call me first. I'm going to be out of town this week, Monday through Friday, at an FWC commission meeting in the Keys. So I'll be out of town this week, but besides that, I'm there pretty much all the time except Wednesday. And then Saturdays, we've got the radio show. So generally, every day except for Wednesday and Saturday, between 6 a.m. and about 3 p.m., you can catch me, and I'll give you a yard sign. And hopefully you'll stop by and get a bumper sticker or a yard sign. We're going to have the hats for pre-order this week, so you'll be able to go on our website and get a hat. So if you don't want to drive down to the marina, you'll be able to get one of these fancy Yes on 2 black camo hats, and we'll mail it to your house. It's about $15 cost. We're going to sell them for cost. We're not going to make any profit on it because we want to try to get as many out there as possible. And then shipping is probably going to be about $8 to $10 in that flat rate box. Or you could buy it for $15 and just cover the cost and then come pick it up as well. So check it out. It'll be coming out this week. We'll be posting it to our social medias. Make sure you follow us on social medias as well. We've got the Captain Dylan Hubbard, Hubbard's Marina Facebook. We've got Instagram. We've got TikTok. We've got Twitter. We've got YouTube. We've got all the different social media accounts. So make sure you follow us, give us a like, check us out. And we've been posting a lot of cool stuff to TikTok as well. So check it out as well. We'll see you October 8th, 6 to 8 p.m. at Bartow Ford. Hopefully we'll see you out for Final Friday at the end of this month as well. Always the last Friday of every month. We got free food, free drinks, and free beer for an hour. It's going to be awesome. Hopefully we'll see you there for Final Friday. Hopefully we'll see you next week for another episode of this live stream show. It's every Sunday night, 7:30 p.m. Hopefully you'll remember to tell your friends. And if you're a supporter, join us for the supporters after show at 8:50. 8:50, you want to make sure you join us for that as well. And then finally, remember to shout out our friends over at Gator Gyms Tackle, 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South in St. Pete. Our friends at Gator Gyms Tackle make it possible to have the show. And one of our new sponsors, our giveaway sponsor and partner, Innovative Pools and Spa, I want to make sure we give them a shout out before we do our last giveaway of the night. Innovative Pools and Spa brings you 35 years of experience in building pools in the Tampa Bay area, and they continue the legacy of their father's company, which was recognized as a top pool builder in the Tampa Bay area for 35 years. Plus, they continue to raise the bar in pool construction, design, and features. They have an unparalleled passion for the industry, and they have a deep-rooted commitment to the community. Call them today, 727-788-1650, or visit them online at innovativepoolsandspa.net for a free estimate. See why Innovative Pools and Spa is the top choice for the local community. Check them out. Thanks for being a part of our live show, Innovative Pools and Spa, and Gator Gyms, and all our supporters out there who help make the show possible. If you are a supporter, remember the Supporters After Show will kick off at 8:50. With that, let's see who won our 39-hour fishing trip for one lucky winner. 39-hour fishing trip for one lucky winner goes to Jim. Congratulations, buddy, from Apollo Beach. He had a good question tonight, too. That's pretty awesome. Congrats, my friend. Hopefully, we'll see you guys out on the water soon. Remember, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of it. We appreciate you all for being a part of our Hubbard's Marina family. We'll see you next week for another episode.